Right, welcome to the FP&Ai Podcast, where finance meets the future. My name is Roger Noka, and I'll be your host today. For this first episode, we call it episode 0. It's the start of a journey that we're taking. And to join me today are two co-hosts. One is Anthony Wilson, the co-founder of FP&Ai, our business, and as well we have Donovan Moses, who is a chartered accountant and one of our more recent hires. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Roger.
So we're going to be talking about transformation in finance, especially the role that FP&A as well as AI have to play in finance transformation. So that's what this episode is about. So Anthony, we've both seen finance from spreadsheets to strategy. What made you want to start this podcast with me?
You know, we're talking about FP&A into the future, and I think that's a super exciting thing, is being able to look at what is happening now in terms of technology and what's going on in the world, but also being able to share together what is going to happen into the future and start preparing for that and understanding that. So, you know, as we know, AI is becoming a big part of the world, and any industry in AI is massive. And the Office of Finance is not going to be exempt from that. You know, and that's one of the parts that excites me, is trying to understand and navigate the world of AI in the Office of Finance and the benefits that's going to bring, and potentially the challenges, but being able to help our listeners embrace that and hopefully help them stay ahead of the curve and learn new things and be able to make use of that and early on become early adopters of AI in finance. And that's just one example. There's so much other innovation happening, but AI for me is one thing that's really exciting, and I look forward to a journey with our listeners through this podcast around that topic specifically, of many others, obviously.
Great, thank you, Donovan. So you're new to our team, and you're going to be helping us dive deep into transformation work. But what excites you about being part of this platform?
As you mentioned earlier, Roger, my background is chartered accountant, and I've seen that play out in two ways: from a control framework, process-orientated background, and then when you're involved more in the business, in the operations and commercial, you tend to then partner with business. And what excites me here is that AI can play a role to help both sides of the Office of Finance. One, the foundation, which is the controls and procedures. And secondly, when we're reaching out to the greater part of the business and partnering, AI can also help there. And I think the proper user case scenarios and examples, how we can embed AI in our everyday life as a finance professional, is what really excites me. And looking forward to discuss those type of topics and practical examples, and interview companies and other finance professionals that actually implementing this in their day-to-day lives.
Great, thanks. Anthony, let's get back to you. You've been around in finance and tech for a long time now. And for many of our listeners who probably don't know you, how did you become obsessed with that intersection of finance and tech?
I've always had a deep interest in both of those worlds. The world of finance and the world of technology, and I actually started with that journey when I was at varsity. I mean, I started out aiming to do just a pure accounting degree, and along the way decided accounts and information systems, or accounts and tech, was for me and the right way to go. And I've been very, very fortunate in how that's been able to play out in my career, in that I've, you know, back in when I started a good 23, 24 years ago, there was a huge gap between finance and IT or technology. Finance used what technology gave them, and they had to live with that, and they kind of had to work around that, and they had to ask for information, and IT wouldn't understand what they were asking for, and they wouldn't know how to ask IT for what they needed. And for me, that was I was able to play a part, or stand in the middle of that, and you know, work with both sides of that conversation and help bridge that gap and almost translate between them. And that's been really enjoyable and exciting to be able to play in both sides of that. What's becoming very exciting at the moment is, first of all, that divide has closed over the years. There's not this big gap between IT and finance. The one can't live without the other, and the one can't have skills in finance and or IT to be able to survive, to live in the business market these days. And it's what's exciting now is we get to work with finance people on the latest technologies that are built for them to use. And for me, that's been an amazing transition over the years. And again, we talk about AI. That's just the newest transition of that is, finance being able to work with AI, which traditionally would have been a technology that was unknown in a black box. Those days are gone. And it's so exciting to be part of that now and working with both finance and IT, or working in the finance and tech space in that new world of technology and finance.
Brilliant. Donovan, you're a CA and you've worked in some traditional finance environments. What opened your eyes to the power of AI and automation in finance and FP&A, more specifically?
I think that's a good question. Typically, when you chat to any finance professional and they talk about their gripes, and it's always a lack of time. They wish they could do fancy dashboards and visuals and better storytelling and insights, clinging on to the FP&A point you just mentioned, and where insights and storytelling is key. But they never seem to have enough time. They don't have the right tools. Also, they wouldn't know where to start. And spending the last 3 or 4 months researching user case scenarios in AI, especially in finance, to give them back time, to get to their insights quicker, to present their monthly financial reports in a different way and a quicker way. It's just illuminated what the art of the possible is. And I think if the team within the finance reporting space, within the FP&A space, are not trying to research and are hungry for these tools, these AI tools, then they are missing a beat. And that's what excites, that we can empower fellow professionals like me with what they've always wanted, more time to partner with the business. And how we do that is leverage the efficiency that AI tools offer. And that's where we want to bridge the gap. That's where we want to help our fellow finance professionals. And that's what excites me, Roger.
So we're all on this journey together, right? We're all trying to figure this thing out. It's all new. Some of us are further along the journey. Some of us are less, just starting out in how AI and FP&A merge, I suppose. And so we're going to be exploring different topics and hearing from industry experts around, people who've really just done stuff. I think that's what we're looking for. There's not a lot of people who can say they've been on this journey for 10 years now. They don't exist, I don't think, or I haven't come across many of them.
Yeah.
So what can our listeners really expect from us? Let's set the tone for what we're going to do. So, and maybe over to you, what kind of conversations are you hoping that we bring to the table here?
First of all, I'm hoping the conversations are very relevant to those who are listening. So we want to talk. I want to bring topics to this podcast that are topical to where finance professionals are at the moment. But I do think what is important about the conversations is that they are centered around, or talk to, how we take the Office of Finance forward and help financial professionals go from where they are today into the future of FP&A. And that would mean, having conversations with people who are in different phases of that. I don't think we only want to talk to the people that are ready, who are ready to take on AI, but we want to help the person who's currently battling with Excel, and how you can optimize that to walk along that journey. So I think for me, the bottom line is helping finance professionals learn from each other, learn from us, and take a step forward, a step closer to optimized department that they're looking for or desiring to have.
Great. Donovan, you've suggested a few sharp topics already. What's one area of FP&A transformation or AI that you think is under discussed or deserves more spotlight than what we currently hear?
I think from a risk point of view around data privacy and data integrity, out there people are focusing on the efficiency that AI can bring. But one under discussed topic would be, how do we enter an environment that's controlled in the world of AI around data privacy? So we talk about your AI policy and your implementation plan and the right framework. What do we allow? What AI tools we allow? What don't we allow? What user specific case can we use it in, and what we don't use it in? So I think just going a bit more into the detail and granularity on the how-to of AI around the risk area can help your office of the CEO and CFO and the exec just feel a bit more comfortable in allowing their staff to experiment with AI in a controlled environment. I think we must talk about these controlled environments and how we start them off. These incubator type of environments that's controlled, where data privacy is absolutely imperative.
Yeah, so we know that finance leaders today are under a lot of pressure, trying to close those books, as you mentioned, faster, getting more insights and being able to project into the future quicker and with more accuracy, right? So, and who do you think this podcast is for?
Most definitely for, your finance professionals. So the team that is working in the office of finance, from your CFO down even to the person who's capturing the invoices. Because I think the topics we'll cover could and will be relevant to all those people within the office of finance. But beyond that, I also think that this podcast would be very relevant for the departments in business that service the office of finance, like IT, for example, and also for the departments in the business that finance are servicing the rest of the business. Because I think the tools, the insights, the ideas that we'll talk about, although they'll be centered around the office of finance, the office of finance doesn't sit as a silo within the business. They're very integral to the business. So it's important that the other parts of the business also understand what can be done and how they can partner to bring those efficiencies, to bring better insights, to incorporate AI into the office of finance and, hey, the broader business. So although we're aiming at your finance professionals, I do think the broader business is going to also benefit from the topics we're going to cover, and would ultimately help bring the business as a whole efficiency and new ways of working in the world that we're living in at the moment.
Brilliant. Donovan, you've said to me that a lot of finance content is disconnected from reality. What is our promise now to these future listeners in terms of being real, practical, and future orientated?
I would believe that we would be showing content that is relevant, that users are facing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a monthly presentation where they're reporting the variances and report, whether it's a forecast or sensitivity analysis. We want to show what the art of the possible is. And like Anthony mentioned earlier, data and IT is key. And we want to show how, with the right foundational setup, with the data linked to the finance systems, what the art of the possible is, and bringing data and financial insights together. So we want to bring those practicals to the fore for people to see what the art of the possible is. Yeah.
Great. So let's just start wrapping up now. The format and frequency, what we're planning to do is at least 2 episodes a month. Hopefully we can bring that down to 1 episode eventually. But we're going to be unpacking tools, frameworks. We're going to do some practical demonstrations where we can. We're going to be inviting guests onto the show, trying to get to understand the projects that they've led, successful projects and maybe not so successful projects, and get the learnings from these types of projects that people are doing out there. So yeah, hopefully every second week we're going to have something really powerful and punchy and practical. And this is episode 0. So if you're new to this podcast, you've probably started here. That's why we can assume that you're hearing this. But thank you for joining this episode. And the podcast is about transformation and it's about being practical, but we also want to build a sense of community, and we want you to like the episodes. We want you to subscribe to the episodes. Click that jolly bell that they tell us about, as well as put comments in the chat on YouTube, so that we can pick those comments up and give you more of what's working and what's hitting the spot. So, gents, thanks for being here today, for introducing this whole podcast platform, the series, and looking forward to debating these topics with you. Sometimes just one of you, maybe with guests only. I think the format's going to be very flexible and agile as we go.
Oh, thanks, Roger. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Roger.
Okay, cheers.